the current DNA of these technology companies operating on a business model that is all based upon, predicated upon making anything you post, give you the promise that anything you post could go viral, and then we're going to create as much engagement as possible. That's the DNA of Facebook and Twitter, as an example, and TikTok. It's just instant, unchecked virality that does not care, nor can it make a distinction between what's true or what's credible versus what's just popular. The fact that that's so baked into it. Now, they're going to make as many changes as they can. And as people have been mentioning in the comments, I want to make sure we're clearly diagnosing that our values blind economy that can't make a distinction between GDP based on giving people diabetes and then selling them the more profitable subscription plan for a cure versus having a health system that prevents or incentivizes preventing diabetes from happening in the first place. We have a values blind economy and capitalist sort of economic logic that is at the root of these problems. And I think the end of the film does say that pretty clearly, as Justin Rosenstein, another Wisdom 2.0 member of our community, said, so long as a whale is worth more dead than alive and a tree is worth more as 2x4s than a tree, in this system, now we're the whale, we're the tree, we're worth more when we're addicted, outraged, polarized, narcissistic, and disinformed than we're a human being or a growing child. And so I just want to name that at the root of it is this economic logic, which means that so long as that economic logic is underneath it all, we're going to be putting patches, or someone says Band-Aids on broken elbows. Like we have a broken elbow, we're putting these smaller Band-Aids on it. That said, I think we need the help of the existing platforms to do as good a job as they possibly can. Just like we want Exxon to be as helpful as possible in funding as much of the carbon capture as they possibly can, while also we need to roll down Exxon, and turn it off and have these regenerative renewable companies that are really going to take over the future energy economy, be the new foundation of society. So I think we need that here too. We want Facebook and YouTube, et cetera, to be as helpful as possible in making the radical changes that we need. But speaking honestly, because we've tried for years to do this advocacy directly with people in the tech industry, hosting backdoor conversations, many of which were actually happening at Wisdom 2.0. There's many people who are at the tech companies who would come to the San Francisco conference, and we would have, many conversations about what we could change. But we honestly didn't get nearly enough change happening as we've needed. And when I look at the growth rate of the harms of addiction, of conspiracy thinking, of crazy town, compared to the growth rate of product changes, how much has Facebook, YouTube, et cetera, TikTok altered their products in really fundamentally different and healthier ways, or the growth rate of legislation and government intervention. We've not seen very much happening there. So as these lines diverge, the thing that can scale to the scope of the challenge is culture, meaning a self-aware civilization, basically. I say civilization because there's 3 billion people who are trapped in this inhumane logic. And so that's why I think the film is so interesting, is it creates an opportunity for a kind of a cultural enlightenment, or as Justin said, it felt like when the film was launched, it felt like the internet became aware of itself, that we actually gained a kind of civilizational scale self-awareness for what we were inside of, as opposed to trapped in the outrage threads and wanting to, comment rapidly to make sure the other guy's wrong and, be right and all of that.